It's 2017, and Sonic Lost World has finally got a follow-up. No reboots, no more Wii exclusivity, and not a classic Sonic game. And it just so happens to be that this game was to become the punching bag of the Sonic community. 4 years later, and it has become one of the most hated Sonic games ever to have seen the light of day. I, meanwhile, had just gotten a PS5 for my birthday and was exploring the store to see what games were available to purchase. I just played Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart and was quite eager to find a similar cartoon character game to play, and it just so happens that the first game my eyes laid on was Sonic Forces, a game that promised to tell an exciting story of Sonic and his friends saving the world from Dr. Eggman yada yada yada. But I immediately went to purchase the game because it seemed to be promising a great experience. Present day, however, and I grew up to realise that the game I had so much nostalgia for just so happened to be the punching bag of the Sonic community, that it was finally time to go back and play my childhood game once again, with a dose of reality in my eyes, and play Sonic Forces once again to discover why is it so hated so much?
Sonic, help me! Sonic? You're alive! Wait, what? Oh.
I had some hopes and expectations while starting this game up. Mostly bad, to be honest, seeing this game's reputation. But I can say, however, that this game was quite memorable, as it made me think back to the previous Sonic games quite a bit, because the gameplay in this game was 100% trying to improve upon their controls, and was clearly trying to keep the levels very similar, but I'm pretty sure Sega didn't have the time or budget to do so. But I was more focused on certain cutscenes, however, with lines that were just plain cringe.
Excuse me, boss?
It can't be! It's impossible to get out of the Phantom Ruby's null space!
Well, maybe by myself, but I had a little help from my friend. Something you wouldn't understand since you don't have any friends.
It's here where the biggest part of this story is shown. The inconsistency. Most of the characters that are shown in this story are pretty much pointless. Classic Sonic's origin has been completely retconned from generations, and major events in the story are just simply shown in radio transmissions and text scrolls, which barely have any life in them. What's also said here is that Tails has simply gone nuts after Sonic's defeat, which is quite dark for a kid's game. And again, with the inconsistency, when we see Tails again after he's supposedly gone nuts, he's shown to be quite fine. So why? Well, it's said here, why? There are several other things I could go into with the story of this game, like how the villain is handled, how there is more inconsistency with the prequel comics, and how modern Sonic is very fine after being tortured for several months. And don't even get me started on classic Sonic. I personally dislike those games because I never grew up with them, but I think we can all agree that he has no place in this story. I could go on, but that would probably take another hour. Without revealing any more with the story though, I will say that the concept for this game is quite awesome on the surface board, but it was very poorly executed.
Are you here to rescue me?
Mm-hmm.
Can't tell you how much I appreciate it. It's been a while since I've seen a friendly face.
Hey, Rookie, you still in one piece?
The cutscenes, unlike the story, have visually been improved. There's great lighting, better details, and just simply more vibrant areas. If I am to give one critique though, I believe that the animations could have had a little more time in the oven, with there being quite stiff and unpolished animations in the cutscenes, which can make the dramatic scenes a whole lot more intense. The character designs of everyone are mostly the same too, except for the most important character in the game, being Modern Sonic. I don't know about you, but why did Sega make Sonic's quills so short and his skin a much lighter blue? I used those as an indicator to tell the two Sonics apart, but now they're both the same, well, in my eyes anyway. I couldn't help but think that this was Sonic's versions of a bad haircut. Trust me, I think we've all had those. I'll quickly touch on the voice actings for this game, as they are quite important too. Roger Craig Smith reprised his role as Sonic again, and can I just say that this was a massive improvement over his performance in Sonic Lost World.
Okay, I didn't need your whole life story. A simple good to go would have been cool.
All right. Good to go!
Cool! Party started. Want to let me go and join in? No? Of course not. You hate fun. Whoa. Oh, wow.
His showcase there was quite good, but his overall performance here was much better. Though I personally think that his Frontiers voice was slightly better. Of course, everyone else was great too. I'd like to quickly mention that I loved Mike Pollock's performance in this, as always, when he played Dr. Eggman.
Erect the defense squad! Shadow! Unbelievable! He's getting deeper and deeper into the facility. That computer running analyses in the core is invaluable. What have you idiots?
I don't know about any of you, but Roger Craig Smith and Mike Pollock will always be the voices of Sonic and Dr. Eggman in my head. Anyway, as this was the first Sonic game to use Hedgehog Engine 2, I have to say that the results of it show through. While the overall level formula is very automated and the design is very simple, like in the previous Sonic games, the visuals that this game provides definitely make up for it a little bit. With reflections, lightings, and just better rendered levels overall, they just make this game a lot more visually appealing than previous Sonic games. This is one of very few positive points about Sonic Forces. But going back to Negative Town, the amount of automation that these levels provide is way too much, with no effort needed for the loop-the-loops, which were the best things for me as a kid. I can't say confidently that there are many opportunities for good graphics to show, with all the level choices being repeatedly used, those choices being the most reused levels in the franchise. I mean, Green Hill Zone, Chemical Plant, Death Egg Zone. Is this game trying to be original? Also, I heard that there's meant to be a war going on this game. Where the f*** is it? Like, really? I couldn't help but think that the avatar is just a modern Sonic with no boost and just a massive assault rifle, and seeing as the avatar can miraculously do a homing attack and run at super high speeds, meanwhile you just simply become a demolition ball when he literally destroys everyone with the Wispons. It's all good fun actually, but if I am going to say something negative, the automation and the janky physics just drag it down again. However, the levels when he teams up with Modern Sonic are easily the best levels, seeing as you literally get the positives of both characters in your hands, though I really don't get why there must be a double boost. I get Sega really wanted to be child friendly here, but this just became a meme, if not anything. And finally, onto the main man of the stage, Modern Sonic. The main reason I was so excited to play this game again was to see his iconic boost formula gameplay in a new shade of light, and boy do I have to say a lot about this guy. To start with the negatives of this guy, I noticed that his rotations are stuck on literally 8 points, making the game look a little less fluid. He has the most automations in this level, meaning that you basically must keep one button held down for the entire level, and that's it. His jump animations are so vague here that they don't look very finished at all, and that's all the negatives I thought of summed up, so I'm not gonna go into how you can literally fly across the levels now, and that's for someone else to rant about. But going back to the positive sides of it, I thought his homing attacks felt satisfying to use, and he felt as fast as he did them in the previous games, so I have no complaints really. I just really hope that his Generations and Unleashed designs come back real soon. I'll keep the bosses quick and simple, as there isn't much variety between them. I thought that the areas where you fight them were creative, like how you fight Infinite on a snake in 1, or Zarok in the prison. The only ones that stuck out like a sore thumb for me were the classic Sonic boss fights, because not only were they repeated concepts, but they were also just so easy and very boring to play. That's honestly, I can't be asked to cover them. But the other two were the Metal Sonic fight and the final Infinite fight. These two bosses were clearly copied of each other, with basic attacks, and the backgrounds were the only really real thing for me that were keeping them different from each other. If I must pick a favourite though, it will have to be the first fight with Infinite. Having the fight on the snake and having us run around it, that reminded me a lot of Lost World and its level design there, but honestly they're all so automated, it makes it quite simple for a second boss fight. My only other complaint, however, is we never get a Chaos boss fight. He was one of the coolest villains that was teased in the marketing of this game, but he was never shown on screen for a full minute. It's ridiculous. It's clear that he was only ever here for the marketing, and if he wasn't, then it's just for more scrap content. I'm pretty sure that this has a bucket load on its files, but if there's one boss I need to talk about the most, it's the final boss. Skip to here if you don't want any spoilers. Before I talk about the final boss, I'll give a little story context. After defeating Infinite, all seems good until Eggman reveals himself to have one final trick up his sleeve, this being a giant mech robot that can alter reality. Modern Sonic, Classic Sonic and the Avatar all jump in to fight him for the final time in the game. Anyway, this boss has 3 sections, one with Classic Sonic where you do the same as the other bosses you play as him, but instead this time on a disappearing platform. A second phase is the Avatar, where you have to do a homing attack and destroy the mech's core and the fist to deal damage. And a final section where you play as all 3 characters to defeat Eggman, who hops in a new mech after the other one runs out of petrol. This is where things start to get interesting for me. The final boss in Sonic games, in my head, are an indicator on how good this game felt to finish. Of all the previous Sonic games I've played, being the classics, Lost World, Unleashed, Frontiers, Forces, Colors, and Generations now, whenever the final boss has come to fight me, I'm always used to there being the game's theme playing in the background, and it almost salutes you in this final push against this great evil that we've may face. The trumpets playing triumphantly as we fight, signifying an end of an era that feels of proudness and determination to prove that we are ready, that we can beat him. However, this game had none of that. There was no game theme, no triumphant trumpets. It's just some rock or pop music, which just sounded like it could have come from a modern Sonic level. I felt that excitement and determination I felt before, but it just didn't feel as strong as it did in the previous games. Not to mention that we weren't even fighting a main villain of the game. In Generations, it's a huge boss because we must save the entire space-time continuum from getting destroyed by a monster. And in Unleashed, you must fight the god of the side of Mount Everest who is single-handedly destroying planets. The previous games have amazing stories and bosses, true, but the thing I love about these games is just because they're original, they pose a threat. More importantly though, it's not the same big bad villain every time we play a Sonic game. The reason I'm saying all this is because Infinite was teased to be this epic massive villain who can alter reality, but instead of fighting him at the end for a supposedly 4th time, by the way, instead we fight Dr. Eggman again in a mech. There's no originality, and I barely felt that stakes were high once. It doesn't help that the gameplay used in this boss was not original either. Lost World copied the gameplay from Colors, and Forces copied from Lost World. The Avatar and Classic Sonic here too, by the way, like they're with us as well, but they absolutely do nothing except homing attack the mech. And how does Classic Sonic even know how to do that? I don't know. Anyway, once the boss is beaten, Classic Sonic gets Thanos snapped and everyone celebrates. Sonic runs away to find trouble and the Avatar goes off into the sunlight, hopefully to get some coffee. Looking back at this game now and how it's affected the Sonic community, this game taught me how developers work behind the scenes and what happens when they don't leave something cook. It taught me what happens when companies don't have enough budget for their games, and it also taught me how the gaming community can respond to a game that has failed so critically. I don't want to be a hater for this game, as it has so much potential, but I think the truth is, this game just didn't hit the mark anywhere in my books. I prefer to play another game rather than this, and honestly, that stings a lot. I grew up with this game believing it to be the golden crown of gaming, when in truth, this game is just the complete opposite. If you enjoyed this video, then please do subscribe for more Sonic reviews in the future. Other reviews that I may be doing as well, whether they be rants or gushing over games. Thanks for watching until the end, and have a good day or night, wherever you may be.